Watching ticker now. It's been a pretty challenging year for one of our biggest retailers, Woolies, announcing a reduction in net profit of 7%, also sales shortfall 200 million against market predictions. Big W once again not looking good. It's in the negative column still, no matter what they do. A staggering loss of $85 million despite an increase in sales. Also, we know that Woolies has said that they will be closing 30 of their unprofitable stores. I think we're still waiting to hear from exactly which ones all of them will be. But Roger Simpson is a retailing expert, CEO of Retail Solution, and joins us now. Roger, thanks so much for your time.
It's a pleasure, Ahron.
So what has gone wrong for Woolies, and is the problem the supermarkets or is it Big W?
Well, I think it's both, and particularly Big W has been, I think, in trouble for a number of years, and trying to reinvent, but probably not actually standing out and doing anything.
No, they seem to have become less classy in terms of their store. They seem to be going absolutely as open as possible, but it's really not appealing in a lot of ways.
No, exactly. Well, what we've seen is that Kmart have done an amazing job, also in trouble about probably 10 years ago, and then Guy Rosso took over. And
why didn't Big W hire him after he left Kmart?
Yeah, Guy Rosso went to, Kmart, then went to Target.
Yeah, and then left both.
And correct, yes. You would have thought that would have been a smart move, because his turnaround with Kmart was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the thing I really liked about what he did is he spent pretty much the first year visiting stores all over the country and talking to the most important people, the staff members, and customers.
Yep.
I mean, what are your challenges? What are you finding difficult?
But his magic touch didn't really work at Target, though.
No, exactly. And I think that's because I think getting Kmart right has dragged lots of customers from Target. And I actually don't even know why. I'm assuming it's historical why they have the two brands. But it just seems, and I don't think someone wants to make the bold move and go, let's just shut Target altogether.
Well, the idea is, I suppose, that when they had Myer, Target, and Kmart all part of the one sector, is it was a three-tier program.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we had this thing called the internet, which came along. But also, people have really changed their habits in terms of how they shop, haven't they? I mean, trying to differentiate, and the products that came up became better. So that the differentiation between, say, Big W and Target and Kmart and even Myer, which has had to put itself as the people's brand compared to David Jones, you now kind of have four different. If you want to buy a, let's just say, an iron, and you go to all four of those different stores, you're just going to go for the cheapest, right? That seems to be what people are doing.
Depending on how much you iron, I guess, but you're probably right.
Don't look at this show.
That's right, exactly.
But I think that when it comes to Big W, they haven't quite gone down the Kmart path of all their own products. What would you say about that? Do you think that could have been a way for Big W to get out of the mess? Because when they have the TVs and everything's kind of branded, but at the same time they're not brands you necessarily know.
Yeah, and that's always a challenge, like getting people to go to new brands. But I think, once again, I guess the Kmart model has been really, really successful. And my understanding is that they used to have a range of, like if you're looking at crockery or whatever, there was lots of choice for customers. So they were carrying 20 or 30 different brands, and they just cut them down to 5.
Yes.
So of course, their buying power became much, much stronger, etc. So, but yeah, look, it's fascinating. And what we're seeing as well at the 30 stores that are closing, we're also seeing like DJs, Myer, etc. You've just seen that DJs are closing in Burke Street here. They're all looking at how do we cut down.
And is that a real estate problem? And let's perhaps bring it right back to that. Is the problem with retail, and let's think of Solomon Lew's comments about what's happening in Chapel Street, is the problem with retail simply that landlords aren't watching what's happening in the retail space, and Big W is saying, well, this store would be profitable if we weren't paying as much rent. Kmart, Target might be doing the same, but instead they're having to shut stores because there's just no other way they can make a profit and they can't negotiate a better deal.
Yeah, there's, once again, I think it's two sides to that story as well. Certainly it is landlords and not moving with the market, because again, you look at Bridge Road, it's a ghost town now.
It is.
And I've heard Chapel Street as well.
Well, Chapel Street's been a ghost town for a while, but Bridge Road, which I live not too far from there, and it obviously was the place where you used to go before DFO.
Yes.
And so DFO
absolutely.
basically, what was the number one problem with Bridge Road? You couldn't get a car park.
Yeah, correct.
So you build in an area where you can make a massive car park.
Yep.
Why would you go there?
Yeah.
Chapel Street. Why would you build? Where do you park there? You get stuck behind a tram, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
you go to Chadstone.
Yeah.
And that must be happening right around the country, where the key problem has been car parking.
Yes.
But Target and Big W, etc., they generally are in places where you can get a free park, and there hasn't been enough.
Correct. But what's happened, as you've said, is that the buying patterns have changed dramatically. Is that we only ever had 20, 30 years ago, you wanted to buy something, you go to Myer, because they had everything. Now, of course, it's and again they've done the big thing, which they did a number of years ago, was cut back staff.
Yeah.
And that was a real challenge, because a lot of people want to go in and actually find someone to help them.
Absolutely.
So there's that, again, that catch-22, and I understand your two biggest costs in retail generally, rent and wages.
Yeah.
So getting the balance right is challenging, but of course, if you're cutting staff, and again, if you're buying shoes in Myer, you're not self-serving. So people would have to wait, and I'm sure they'll just get annoyed and go somewhere
Yeah, it's happened to me just recently. I went there during a lunch break. Turns out everyone else does the same, and it turns out the staff at Myer go on their lunch break at the same time.
Of course they do.
So you stand there with your box wanting to pay a couple of $100, and there's no one to actually buy it from. And how long do you stand there for until you just go, actually, I'll come back another time, to which you never do, or you go online?
And this is exactly what the challenge about retail now is. There's so many options, and there's a lot of specialties that are happening now as well, specialty stores as well. We've got the big players coming from overseas, and again, H&M, etc., and Uniqlo, the model from day one has been self-serve.
Yes.
Limited staff. There's someone in the change rooms to help you out, and there's someone at.
Well, is that a way to go? Do you think? Do you think that Myer and David Jones should allow you to self-serve? Well, you go to Apple, right? You go to the Apple store, and if you have the phone, you can have the app, and you can scan it, goes to your card, and off you go.
Yeah.
They haven't done that yet.
No, they haven't, and I think that's where it's almost like being half pregnant, is that they sort of went this way, but their stores aren't set up for it.
But aren't they also moving into a half pregnant way, where you talk about how the great thing about Myer and David Jones is you used to be able to go there and get everything.
Absolutely.
And now they're in Melbourne, they're pushing, you've already seen Myer do it, obviously they shut what has now become the Emporium, and they've moved into one big store. It's a huge store, obviously, and they spent a lot of money redoing it. But David Jones will go, they won't have the same amount of space as what Myer does, obviously. It's not a bigger store or as large a store. So they shut down the men's side, move everyone into the women's side. I understand they'll be using a bit more of the office space to try and make it larger. But they no longer become the store that has everything. They become the store you go to if you like to shop at David Jones.
Yes.
So they're a brand.
Absolutely. And that's what Myer are doing as well, very much pushing brands that are exclusive, because this is the problem.
They're a gift card store.
Yes.
They're the place you go if you are given a gift card. But if you have cash in your card, you would just go online, right?
Yes, yeah. And it's interesting though, because again, getting back to Woolies, is that both Woolies and Coles are upping the amount of small format stores. There's one just down the road. So on my way here, I just popped in this morning, and there's people in there buying their breakfast, they've got a barista there.
Yeah.
So they are taking on
7-Eleven.
Exactly. And
convenience.
It's all about convenience.
But the interesting thing, and sorry to cut you off, about the convenience side though, it's a great idea, but obviously products at 7-Eleven are more expensive because of convenience. We've been trained to believe that if it's convenient, it's more expensive.
Yes.
But if you go to a brand like Woolies or Coles, you don't want to pay a price for convenience, because it's like going to a smaller McDonald's store. You want to pay the same, right?
Yes. But what you will see is again, they're going to have more artisan and ready-to-go foods. And ready-to-go foods is the big trend.
Yes.
And of course, they're going to, so they don't have them in the other.
It's taken us a while, hasn't it? Like, for anyone who's been in the UK, Marks and Spencer food to pick up on the way home was next to a train station. It was built into train stations. We haven't quite done that yet in the suburbs, have we? Yet we're hearing that David Jones is actually going to be building into some petrol stations.
It's a BP, yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think I think it's a really good move because again, there's a win-win for both because DJs have got into their fine food, and again at service stations, all our memory is you go in there and there's one pie left in the pie warmer,
Yes, and it's been there for 12 hours.
Yeah, who wants to pie that one? and now the range, and again, like that convenience food, and again, as a customer, I'm actually okay to spend a little bit more because I know that if I could go to a supermarket, but then I've got to walk in, find it, etc., and then I've got to try and pay or whatever it is. So I'm okay paying a little bit extra because it's convenient. But again, I don't want to pay way over here as well. But I think it's a move that we're going to see take off.
Do you think we'll see them get into more technology though? Like you've seen the Amazon Go stores in the US where you walk in, it knows who you are, it uses artificial intelligence apparently, you don't even have to go to a checkout, you walk out, it knows what's in your basket. We seem to be a long way away from that, yet when it came to FPOS, Australia was an early adapter.
Yeah. Well, in fact, 7-Eleven have actually gone to that same similar technology. Woolies have also done that as well. They're trialling that where it's the scan and go technology, and so that's happening here. And so look, it's really fascinating what's happening. And speaking of technology, Coles have just done a deal with a company called Ocado, I think it's called.
Right.
And that's they are specialists in robotic warehousing.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they were half price avocado.
Yes, that's right.
Thank you.
So they're going to have that whole warehouse because businesses that provide where you fulfill from store online is really challenging because it messes all your stock up. Whereas if you actually have a separate distribution warehouse, it's much faster, much more efficient. So
just quickly tell us about Retail Solution.
Yeah. Well, my company, we're very passionate about helping retailers in the bricks and mortar space because we're it's very competitive, as you know.
Yes.
And people can shop online very easily. What's going to bring them into store? It's that customer experience in store. So we focus on helping retailers get that service right, and at the same time, when you're offering great service, you can actually get your customers to actually spend more money for the right reasons. Not just for the retailer's reasons, but it's actually right for the customer. And we help, our main sort of, thing that we do is actually help store managers actually how to performance manage and coach their teams.
Yeah, right.
Most managers don't get trained how to coach their teams, and it's a big thing, a big missing link, I believe.
Yes, think people, not just dollars.
It's always about people. Retail's always going to be about people. That's where they can beat online now.
Roger, thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
Wonderful to meet you. Roger Simpson there, retail expert and CEO of Retail